Security can escort you out, Ethan. Unless you'd like to explain why the servers are dying right now? Before we dive into this story, I need to know something. If someone humiliated you in front of your entire team, would you walk away or fight back? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you've ever felt like love was worth fighting for, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this ends. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. 3 hours earlier, the morning had started like any other Tuesday in downtown Chicago. Olivia Grant stood in line at Starbucks, answering emails before the barista even called her name. Black coffee. No room. No hesitation. Outside, traffic groaned along Michigan Avenue, horns blending with construction drills and the distant rumble of the L train. She thrived in noise. Control inside chaos, that was her brand. At 38, Olivia was the youngest CEO in the company's history. Grant Tech had exploded under her leadership, cybersecurity contracts, government partnerships, a feature in Forbes. Her employees called her brilliant. They didn't call her warm. Across town, Ethan Cole was kneeling beside a second-grade backpack covered in cartoon dinosaurs. Lunch is in the side pocket, bud. And don't trade your apple again. His son, Noah, grinned. But Dad, apples are boring. Ethan smiled in a way that didn't quite reach his tired eyes. Boring keeps the lights on. He dropped Noah off at Lincoln Elementary before racing toward the office, tie crooked, heart already pounding. He'd been up past midnight stabilizing back-end code. Again, Ethan wasn't flashy. He wasn't political. But the company's infrastructure? That was his. Every patch, every workaround, every emergency midnight fix. His fingerprints were buried in it. And lately, something had been wrong. The servers had been glitching. Minor at first, then stranger. Ghost data. Delayed responses. He'd flagged it in 3 separate emails. No reply. By 9:12 a.m., Olivia was in the glass conference room on the 32nd floor. Sunlight sliced across polished floors. The Chicago River shimmered below like something distant and irrelevant. Quarterly projections are slipping, her CFO said carefully. Olivia didn't blink. Then tighten them. But her phone buzzed. 1 message. 3 words. System-wide anomaly detected. Her jaw tightened. Down in IT, Ethan stared at his monitors as red warning boxes bloomed like infection across the screens. His stomach dropped. This wasn't a glitch. This was collapse. And upstairs, Olivia made a decision that would collide their worlds in less than an hour. She just didn't know it yet. But neither of them knew. This was the day everything they thought they understood about control would unravel. The first alarm sounded at 9:27 a.m. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a sharp, steady tone inside the IT department that made everyone freeze. Ethan's screen went black. Then another. Then another. Across the office floor, dozens of monitors flickered like dying light bulbs. Someone swore under their breath. Someone else said, "Is this a drill?" It wasn't. Upstairs, Olivia stepped out of the elevator into a wall of panic. Assistants rushed past her. Phones rang without pause. The glass walls that once made the office feel open now felt like a fishbowl filling with water. "What's happening?" she asked. Her COO didn't sugarcoat it. "We're losing the core network. Government contracts are locked into those servers. If this spreads..." Olivia didn't let him finish. "Who's responsible?" Downstairs, Ethan was already typing commands, fingers moving fast, heart moving faster. Sweat slid down his back beneath his dress shirt. He'd warned them. 3 emails. 2 voicemails. He knew where the weakness was. A third-party patch pushed too fast. But now it wasn't about being right. It was about stopping the bleeding. His phone buzzed. "Report to 32nd floor." Immediately, he closed his eyes for 1 second. When he stepped into the executive conference room, every seat was filled. Suits, tension, fear dressed as authority. Olivia stood at the head of the table. "You said the system was stable last quarter," she said, voice steady but sharp. "Now we're watching it fall apart." Ethan swallowed. I flagged instability in the security patch. It needed a rollback. You sent an email. Yes. You didn't escalate. He hesitated. I didn't want to create panic. The silence after that was heavy. Olivia's gaze hardened. In her world, hesitation was weakness. And weakness cost money. Grant Tech cannot afford oversight like this, she said. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated. The words landed like a punch. Ethan didn't argue, didn't beg. He just nodded once. For a second, something flickered in Olivia's chest. Doubt? Maybe. But she buried it. Leaders didn't second-guess. Security walked him to his desk. He packed slowly. A framed photo of Noah at Navy Pier last summer. A half-finished protein bar. His worn leather notebook, the one filled with back-end architecture only he fully understood. In the elevator, his hands shook. 32 floors down. Job gone. Health insurance gone. Stability gone. In a city like Chicago, rent didn't wait for pride to recover. The elevator doors opened to the lobby. He stepped into the cold February air. Wind off Lake Michigan cut straight through his coat. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He ignored it. Across town, in a federal building on Dearborn Street, a government client stared at a frozen screen and picked up his phone. Pull the contract, he said. Now. Back at Grant Tech, the red warnings returned, stronger, louder. A junior developer whispered, "Why isn't the recovery protocol working?" No one answered. Because the recovery protocol was incomplete. Because the only person who knew the manual override code had just walked out the door. Olivia stood still as another executive rushed in. "We can't access the encryption layer," he said. "It's custom. Only Ethan built it." The room went silent. For the first time that morning, Olivia felt something unfamiliar press against her ribs. Fear. Not for her reputation. For the company. For the 200 employees whose paychecks depended on her decisions. For the legacy she'd fought to build. Outside, Ethan stopped at a crosswalk, staring at the traffic light. His phone buzzed again. This time he looked at the screen. Grant Tech. He let it ring. Up on the 32nd floor, Olivia whispered, almost to herself, "Get him back." But neither of them knew. The hardest part wasn't the system failure. It was what it would cost to ask for help. Ethan didn't answer the call. He stood on the corner of Wacker Drive, cars rushing past, wind cutting across the river. His phone buzzed again, then again. He pressed decline. Across town, in the glass tower on Michigan Avenue, Olivia stared at the conference table like it had betrayed her. "Call him," she said. "We are," the COO replied. "He's not picking up." Of course he wasn't. She had fired him in front of everyone, humiliated him, and now she needed him. The irony tasted bitter. Back in his car, Ethan gripped the steering wheel. The heater hummed, but his hands were still cold. He checked the time. 2:47 p.m. He needed to be at Lincoln Elementary by 3:15. Life didn't pause for corporate chaos. His phone buzzed again. This time, a voicemail notification. He didn't listen. Not yet. Instead, he drove west toward the school, past brownstone apartments and corner stores with neon signs glowing in the winter gray. Chicago felt the same. Normal. Steady. His world wasn't. Inside the school pickup line, parents scrolled their phones, sipping Dunkin' coffee. Kids burst through double doors with backpacks bouncing. Noah ran toward him. "Dad." Ethan forced a smile and lifted him into a quick hug. "You good?" Noah asked. "Yeah, bud," he said. "Just a long day." But as they drove home to their small duplex in Logan Square, the silence in the car felt heavier than usual. Back at Grant Tech, the servers weren't stabilizing. They were collapsing. Data streams froze. Clients called nonstop. One government contract sent a formal warning notice. Olivia listened to the chaos like it was a storm she couldn't outrun. "Can we rebuild from backup?" she asked. The lead developer shook his head. Not without his encryption key. He never shared the master override. Said it was safer that way. Safer. The word burned. She walked into her office and shut the door. For the first time in years, she felt small. Her father used to tell her, "Never let them see you hesitate." She built her whole career on that advice. But what if he'd been wrong? Her phone sat on the desk. She picked it up, scrolled to Ethan's number, paused. Pride is quiet. It doesn't shout. It whispers. You don't need him. You can fix this yourself. Across the city, Ethan finally played the voicemail while Noah did homework at the kitchen table. Olivia's voice filled the small room. "Ethan, this is Olivia. We need to talk. There's been a development." She hesitated on the recording. "Just slightly. If you could call me back. No apology. No explanation. Just need." Ethan stared at the phone. He could ignore it, find another job, protect his pride. Or he could walk back into the building that had just thrown him out. Noah looked up from his math sheet. "Dad." "Yeah. You look mad." Ethan exhaled slowly. "I'm just thinking about bills, about health insurance, about the team he'd left behind, about a company that was sinking." His phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a call. It was a text. "If you don't come in, we lose everything." Ethan's jaw tightened, because deep down he knew something Olivia didn't. The failure wasn't random. And if he stayed silent, the damage would spread far beyond one office tower in Chicago. Pride is a liar, and theirs was about to cost them everything. Ethan showed up at 6:12 p.m. The Chicago sky was dark, the city lights reflecting off the river like broken glass. He stood outside the Grant Tech building for a long moment before walking in. The security guard looked confused. "Thought you were." "Yeah," Ethan said quietly. "I was." Upstairs, the office felt different. The noise was lower now, tense, focused, like a hospital waiting room at midnight. Olivia was in the server room when he walked in. No glass walls, no skyline view, just metal racks, blinking lights, and the low hum of machines fighting to stay alive. She turned when she heard the door. For a second, neither of them spoke. "Thank you for coming," she said. It wasn't an apology, but it wasn't cold either. Ethan stepped closer to the main console. "Show me." She moved aside without argument. That alone surprised him. He studied the screen. Code ran down in fast lines. Red warnings stacked on top of each other. "They pushed the auto-update," he said. "I warned about that." Her jaw tightened. "I know." Silence settled between them. He started typing. Fast. Focused. She watched his hands. "You built this encryption layer yourself?" she asked. "Yeah." "Why not document the override?" He didn't look at her. "Because the last company I worked for got hacked after sharing admin access too widely. People lost jobs. I wasn't going to let that happen again." There it was. Not ego. Fear. Protection. She hadn't asked before firing him. Now she saw the gap in her judgment. The room felt warm from the machines. The air smelled like dust and metal. "Rollback initiated," Ethan muttered. A progress bar crawled across the screen. 30%. 40. 50. Olivia crossed her arms, but it wasn't defensive. It was steadying. "If this fails," she said quietly, "we lose our federal contract. 200 employees are at risk." "I know," he replied. Not angry, not smug, just honest. 70%. The system flickered. A warning flashed again. Ethan leaned closer. "There's a secondary breach point. Can you stop it?" "Yes, but I'll need full admin clearance." She hesitated. This was control, authority, power, and she had just taken his. Without another word, she stepped to the main panel and entered her credentials. Full access granted. She didn't look at him when she said, "You have it." It was more than system clearance. It was trust. He fixed the breach. Slowly, one by one, the red warnings disappeared. In the hallway outside, someone whispered, "It's stabilizing." Inside the server room, the tension shifted. Not gone, just softer. When the final alert cleared, Ethan leaned back against the rack. "It's secure," he said. Olivia let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "Thank you." This time it sounded real. He nodded but didn't smile, because something still lingered between them. The humiliation, the pride, the unspoken apology. And as the machines hummed steady again, Olivia saw something she hadn't noticed before. Exhaustion in his eyes. Not just from tonight, from life. She opened her mouth to say something else. Something human. But the words caught. She saw it then, the fracture in his armor. And it terrified her. Have you ever been stuck with someone who made you feel too much? Tell me what happened. The office emptied out around 9 p.m. Downtown Chicago slowed to a low hum. The L train rattled in the distance. Snow started falling outside the narrow windows of the server room, soft and quiet against the glass. Ethan shut down the final diagnostic and stepped away from the console. It's stable, he said, but the patch needs a full rebuild. I can start tomorrow. Tomorrow. The word hung there. Olivia leaned against the cold metal table. You don't work here anymore. Simple. Direct. He nodded once. Right? Silence stretched. He grabbed his jacket from the chair. I should go. My son's with a neighbor. She looked up. You didn't tell me you had a son. You didn't ask. It wasn't sharp. It was tired. That hit harder. She folded her arms. Not defensive. Just holding herself together. I reviewed performance reports. Output. Deadlines. I didn't review personal files. Ethan gave a small laugh. Not amused. Personal files don't show 2 a.m. hospital visits. Or school pickup times. The room felt smaller. My ex left when Noah was 3, he said quietly. Didn't want the responsibility. So yeah, I guard things. Systems. Access. Stability. It's kind of my thing. Olivia swallowed. Her father used to lock every door twice before bed. After her mother walked out. Control what you can, he'd say. She stepped closer to the table. When the board pressured me last quarter, they said I was too soft, that I let people slide. He looked at her for the first time since the crisis ended. So you fired me to prove something? To protect the company. And yourself? He asked. The question landed gently, but it stayed. She didn't answer right away. Snow fell heavier now, blurring the city lights. The world outside looked softer than the one inside this room. I built this company from a team of 12, she said. Every mistake feels personal. So does losing a job, he replied. That wasn't anger. It was truth. He picked up his notebook from the desk. The worn leather bent easily in his hand. I'm good at fixing things, he said. Servers, code, broken systems. But I'm not good at fighting for myself. She watched him walk toward the door. Something inside her shifted. If he leaves now, she thought, this ends. Not just professionally. Something else. Ethan, she said. He stopped but didn't turn around. I was wrong. The words felt unfamiliar in her mouth. I reacted. I didn't listen. And that cost you. He turned slowly. You embarrassed me, he said. I know. I need stability, not chaos. Her voice softened. So do I. That surprised both of them. The machines hummed steady behind them. The crisis was over. But something deeper had opened. You should have trusted me, he said. You're right. She didn't add a defense. Didn't explain. Just stood there in the quiet. If you've ever watched two people try to choose honesty instead of ego, you know how rare that moment is. And if stories like this matter to you, stories about owning mistakes and choosing better, stay with us. Some lessons are too important to miss. Ethan studied her face. For the first time, she didn't look like a CEO. She looked human, tired, scared, alone. My son has a science fair next week, he said suddenly. He's building a volcano. Keeps asking if lava can be blue. Olivia blinked. Can it? He smiled, small but real. Not in real life. A pause. You should come back, she said carefully. Not because I need you. Because we need you. He held her gaze. Outside, snow covered the sidewalks, quieting the city. Inside, something fragile began to form. But trust doesn't rebuild as fast as servers. And the truth has a way of finding light, even when you've buried it in the dark. 3 days later, Chicago was buried in snow. Salt lined the sidewalks. Traffic crawled along Lakeshore Drive. The city looked clean on the surface, cold underneath. Ethan hadn't signed the new contract. It sat on his kitchen counter next to Noah's half-finished blue volcano. He wanted to go back, but wanting and trusting were two different things. At Grant Tech, Olivia faced a new problem. The board had called an emergency meeting. "They're nervous," her CFO warned as they walked into the conference room. The outage scared them. Olivia didn't slow her stride. "It's fixed." It almost wasn't. Inside, 5 board members sat waiting. Polished table, tension thick as smoke. One of them cleared his throat. "We've reviewed the incident." Olivia stayed calm. "The breach was contained." "Yes," he said, "by an employee you terminated." There it was. "He's being rehired," she replied. "On your authority?" "Yes." Another board member leaned forward. "That shows instability in leadership. First you fire him, then you depend on him. Which decision reflects your judgment?" The words were sharp. Olivia held her ground. "Both. I corrected a mistake." "That's not how investors see it," he said. Across town, Ethan was at Lincoln Elementary, sitting in a folding chair too small for him. Construction paper covered the walls. Kids adjusted baking soda and food coloring. Noah grinned. "Watch this, Dad." The blue volcano bubbled over, messy and imperfect. Parents clapped. Ethan smiled wide. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He stepped into the hallway to answer. Olivia's voice was tight. "The board wants distance from you." He closed his eyes. "Meaning, they think rehiring you makes me look weak." "And what do you think?" Silence. Then, "I think I was wrong to fire you." "That's not what I asked." The hallway smelled like bleach and crayons. A basketball bounced in the gym nearby. "I think," she said slowly, "that I don't care how it looks." He leaned against the locker. "But you do care." "I care about this company. And your image." That hit. Back in the conference room downtown, a board member had said something else before she left. "If this continues, we may need to reconsider your position as CEO." The threat sat heavy on her chest. Now she stood alone in her office, looking out over Michigan Avenue. Snow fell again. Slow. Quiet. "I won't choose optics over people," she said into the phone. "You already did once," Ethan replied. "Not cruel. Just honest." Inside the gym, parents cheered as another volcano exploded. Ethan looked through the window at his son laughing. "I can't risk stability again," he said. "Not for pride. Not for politics." "This isn't politics." "What is it then?" The question lingered between them. She didn't answer fast enough, because if she said it, it would be real. He exhaled. "I need consistency. For my son. And I need courage," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "But courage costs something." "Maybe this isn't the right time," he said gently. The line went quiet. Snow fell heavier outside her office window. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes it's just the beginning of goodbye. Have you ever lost someone because you were too afraid to fight? Comment below. Olivia didn't sleep that night. Chicago moved under her window. Sirens in the distance. Snowplows scraping ice from the streets. Headlights sliding past like quiet ghosts. Her apartment felt too large. Too quiet. She replayed every moment. The firing. The server room. The look on Ethan's face in the school hallway when he chose his son over uncertainty. He wasn't wrong. That's what hurt. At 6 a.m., she stood in her kitchen holding a mug of coffee gone cold. The city skyline glowed pale blue with sunrise. She had built Grant Tech from nothing. Slept in the office during the early years. Missed birthdays. Holidays. Relationships. She told herself it was worth it. But when the board threatened her position, fear rose fast. Not of losing money, of losing identity. If she wasn't CEO, who was she? Across town, Ethan was tying Noah's shoes. "Did you see my volcano, Dad? It was the biggest one." "I did," Ethan said, smiling. "It was perfect." Noah studied him. You're thinking again. Yeah. About work. Kind of. Noah shrugged in that simple way kids do. You always fix stuff. Ethan paused. Always fix stuff. After dropping Noah off at school, he sat in his parked car outside the building longer than usual. Parents rushed past with travel mugs. A crossing guard waved traffic forward. His phone was quiet. No new calls. No new messages. Maybe that was the answer. Back downtown, Olivia walked into the boardroom alone. No assistant. No notes. The long table reflected her image back at her. I've made a decision, she said. The chairman folded his hands. We're listening. She inhaled slowly. If correcting a mistake makes me look weak, then I'm fine looking weak. A shift in the room. Ethan Cole prevented a full collapse. I fired him without full review. That's on me. You're admitting fault? Someone asked. Yes. Silence. And I'm rehiring him with expanded authority over system security. If that costs me this position, so be it. The words landed steady. No anger. No defense. Just truth. She slid her resignation letter across the table. No one reached for it. For several long seconds, no one spoke. The heating system hummed softly overhead. Traffic murmured 32 floors below. A pen rolled slightly on the polished surface. Olivia stood straight, hands resting at her sides, pulse steady but loud in her ears. Her future balanced in a quiet room filled with men who valued control more than courage. She didn't argue, didn't negotiate, didn't look away. Outside, snow began to melt under a weak winter sun. Finally, the chairman cleared his throat. Leave the letter, he said. We'll discuss. She nodded once and walked out. No victory, no defeat, just a choice made. 2 miles away, Ethan stared at the unsigned contract on his kitchen counter. His phone buzzed. One message. From Olivia. I chose you. Now I'm choosing honesty. Can we talk tonight? He read it twice. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing love anyway. And for the first time, he wondered, what if this wasn't about a job anymore? What if it was about something neither of them had planned for? They met at a diner in River North. Not a boardroom, not a server room, just a booth near the window, red vinyl seats, a neon sign buzzing softly above the counter. The kind of place where truck drivers and lawyers sit side by side. Coffee always hot, pie always fresh. Snow melted along the sidewalks outside. Chicago felt softer that night. Ethan slid into the booth first. He wore jeans and a dark sweater. No tie, no armor. Olivia walked in a minute later. No heels, no blazer, just a long wool coat and tired eyes that didn't hide anymore. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. You chose a diner, she said, sitting across from him. It felt honest. A waitress poured coffee without asking. Steam curled between them. Olivia didn't waste time. I told the board I was wrong, she said. I offered my resignation. Ethan blinked. You what? I won't lead by fear anymore. Not of investors. Not of losing face. He searched her expression. Did they accept it? No. A small breath left his chest. They tabled it, she added. But I meant it. Silence settled, but it wasn't sharp like before. It was open. You said you needed consistency, she continued. You're right. I can't promise there won't be pressure, or long nights, but I can promise I won't choose pride over people again. He traced the rim of his coffee mug. That's a big promise. I know. Outside, a city bus rolled past. Someone laughed near the counter. Life moved on. I grew up watching my dad control everything, she said quietly. After my mom left, he shut down. He thought strength meant never bending. Ethan listened. I copied him, she admitted. I thought if I never hesitated, no one could leave. That was the first time she'd said something that personal. He leaned back slightly. Noah's mom didn't leave because I wasn't strong. She left because she didn't want the responsibility. He met her eyes. I stayed because someone had to. The weight of that hung between them. The waitress returned with 2 slices of apple pie. Neither of them had ordered it. On the house, she said with a wink. You both look like you needed something sweet. They shared a small smile. I don't just want you back at the company, Olivia said. I want you as head of security operations. Full authority over system protocols. That's a promotion. It's earned. He thought about the long nights, the pressure, the board watching him now. Then he thought about Noah, about stability built on respect, not fear. I'll come back, he said slowly. But with one condition. She waited. No more surprises. No decisions about me without me. Agreed. Another pause. And, he added, voice softer, if we're doing this, we don't blur lines unless we're both ready. Her heartbeat picked up. Blur lines. He held her gaze. You know what I mean. She did. For weeks, something unspoken had grown between crisis meetings and late-night fixes. Then let's not rush it, she said. Let's build it right. Not a spark. A foundation. 3 weeks later, the board publicly praised the company's recovery. Contracts were renewed. Stability returned. Ethan's office moved one floor up. His name sat on a new plaque. Olivia stopped making decisions alone. And on a mild Saturday afternoon, she stood outside Lincoln Elementary holding a small gift bag. Noah ran out first. Dad. She came. Ethan followed, smiling. Olivia knelt slightly. I heard blue lava might exist in imagination. She handed Noah a science kit. His eyes lit up. Can we try it? Only if your dad says yes, she replied. Ethan laughed. We'll make a mess in the kitchen. That's allowed, she said. They walked toward Ethan's car together. Not rushed. Not hiding. Just honest. If stories about second chances and choosing courage over ego mean something to you, stay with us. Because real strength isn't about never falling. It's about standing back up with someone beside you. That night, after Noah went to bed, they stood in the quiet kitchen. Blue food coloring still stained the counter. You good? He asked. She smiled. Yeah. You? Yeah. No boardrooms. No alarms. Just two people who almost lost something before realizing its worth. He reached for her hand. This time she didn't let go. Outside, Chicago hummed steady and alive. Inside, something steady began too. Not because he saved her company, but because they saved each other. Do you believe some people are worth the wait? Drop a heart in the comments if this story hit you. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.